Wow, I am late for me. I'm going to blame it on my asthma. When reality, what it was is I was digging through, I was digging through a pile of clothing. I have a trunk, an old-fashioned steamer trunk from, I guess, around 1900 or so, and it is stuffed to the brim with clothing. Now, barely cover my bra. Now, last year, I went through my closet on one of my days where I was just aching for stuff to do since I wasn't. Don't do this at home, folks. Okay. I was aching for something to do during COVID where I was not freaking out over everything totally. So, what I did was I went through my steamer trunk full of clothing. Hey, Julianne. Hey, John. I was actually looking for a shirt I used to wear at church when we would have these Christmas performances that weren't so formal. Hey, always grateful. One of the things that we used to do at the old Methodist church I went to was we did a service called Blue Christmas. Sometimes it was Christmas Eve, but most of the time it was a couple of days before. And the whole purpose of that was it was a Christmas service for those people who weren't happy, happy, joy, joy. It was for those of us that were struggling with any number of things. So I really wanted to talk about that. And I was hoping that I still had my Christmas shirt. I could have sworn I had it because I would have worn that sucker. Not that I feel happy, happy, joy, joy. If anything else, I'm kind of in the same boat with a lot of people. I don't feel the happy, happy, joy, joy. Part of that could be I'm here in the wilds of Costa Rica. This since COVID started will be, I guess, the second Christmas without my kids because of COVID, because Omicron, and who knows what's going to happen. I've been seeing all kinds of crap going on. Well, I did pull out a laugh. Another jumper I used to wear in Fundy Town. I think I kept this one because I loved the fabric. It was, the tablecloth fabric with the ants all over it. I loved this thing. I used to wear it. I thought it was the wittiest thing. I guess if you're trying to express yourself and you don't have a lot of options, this is witty. So I've kept it. Like I said, I kept several of my clothing because I just couldn't get rid of them because I had emotional attachments to them, or maybe they were really, the material was nice. So anyway, back to Christmas. I'm not feeling it, even if I did buy ornaments again. And when I was part of my old religious group, this was pretty unacceptable. I mean, Christmas and Easter were kind of the Super Bowls of Christianity. Hey, Bliss, getting ready for work, but listening. Good. It was the Super Bowl of emotional whatever. And that was really hard to deal with. The year my father died, and I was still going to church. It was 1999 with these people. It would take me another 6 years before I could leave. It was particularly hard. He died in mid-November. We immediately had Thanksgiving and then Christmas, and I was just not feeling any of it. No joy at the holidays. And that's pretty normal. There are a lot of times where you're not going to feel happy, happy, joy, joy. And everybody and their brother is going to insist, well, it's the happiest time of the year. Hey, T King, it's the happiest time of the year. You've got to have joy. Not so. It says nothing about you as a person if you're not feeling it. But I know how frustrating that is, being surrounded by everybody who is. Sometimes it feels like you're the only person in the world that's feeling that way. And I can assure you that's not true. There are a lot of people that struggle with this, particularly in the time of COVID. There are a lot of people. I mean, it's so many things that have impacted us on this. I mean, it could be something as simple as the fact that Daylight savings has happened and the darkness comes earlier. I've heard people say that that really gets them going. It's a lack of a connection in the spiritual importance of the holiday. At least they're trying to tell you that. Some people are going through this because they have no family. For me here, that's part of it. There's no family here. My mother passed away almost 7 years ago. Her birthday is on Christmas. So it's bittersweet for you every year. Decorated the tree yesterday as a chore, just not the same with the crud, keeping families still distance for multiple reasons. Both of those are really good reasons why you would not feel happy, happy, joy, joy that everybody is insisting that you must feel on Christmas. I'm going to put up my tree this afternoon as a chore. Why? Because it's just what I do. Even when I don't feel it, I do it. And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about. There's so many good reasons why you won't feel the joy, but there's also a lot of ways that you can cope with that. I found that keeping to a routine helps. If you have things you do normally, just do them as a sacrifice or whatever. I always put the tree up the Sunday after Thanksgiving. Last couple of years, I haven't put it up because it's boiling ass hot here, which makes me not think about Christmas and any of this stuff. But sticking to the rituals, I think, is important. It's also important to have the kind of, hey, sir, I'm sorry if I messed up your name. It's important to keep to your self-care, because this is a time of year where self-care is possibly one of the most important things you can do for yourself, particularly if you're not feeling the holiday spirit yet. And it can be as simple as just shutting yourself away for the evening and watching The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. It could be doing the kind of self-care that makes yourself feel better. I used to go get massages, facials, have my eyebrows done when I needed self-care, have my hair trimmed and colored. That was my big self-care for many, many years before I turned up with Marcel. Now I don't do those things, but I have other self-care rituals. So you don't owe anybody happiness on the holiday. You owe them nothing. And you're allowed to feel your own feelings. That's the thing that I think that a lot of people mistake about Christmas. There is no law that says you have to be happy, happy, joy, joy. My enthusiasm for Christmas died with my first job in retail. The lead up to Christmas seemed to bring out the worst in people. John, hallelujah, preach. I have had not as many retail experiences as a lot of people, but I've had a few. And I think the most soul destroying one was the 4 years I worked for the International Floral Call Service. It ruined Valentine's Day for me. I will never look at Valentine's Day the same ever again because of the people that I had to deal with on the phone. And Christmas was kind of the same way. People were nicer, I think, but they were also a whole lot meaner. And for me, that really sucked all the life out of it. The years that I worked retail on this retail phone call service, it got to the point where they moved me finally to customer support. And I seemed to do a whole lot better with telling people, I'm so sorry, rather than having people calling in and demanding the world and calling in and yelling at me. So I kind of worked the background. I worked with the florists and I worked some on the customer support line. Anybody who works retail around the holidays knows what you're talking about, John. And they know that there's no way they're going to be able to summon up enthusiasm if they don't have it. I'm so over Christmas, and retail brings out the ugly in humans. I look at people as whole completely differently. Yes, Lisa, that's the thing I was going to bring up. Dealing with your family can bring enough stress to rob you of any joy and happiness around this holiday and make you anticipate it in a negative way. My own birth family, every holiday brought crazy stress from the time I was a small child until I finally stopped going down to Louisiana for holidays. I mean, the last holiday I had down there with them, I could tell you about it in detail. And it was pretty awful. That's another reason why I no longer have enthusiasm for holidays. Add in working retail, add in the fact that I left a cult church that insisted that everybody had to have happiness 24/7. And you just got the whole Super Bowl of not giving a rat's patoot about that. I'm feeling the same, very emotional this year. Then I saw a tweet from somebody, and the words just started putting themselves on paper, now working on a next blog post. Good. I will likely be blogging about this too, because I was thinking about it a whole lot the last few days, because the whole retail thing and the way that people buy all kinds of stuff. You can't buy someone else's love. I just want to throw that out there. Since we moved here, we don't do presents with each other. And I'm fine with that, because I know I'm going to go down to the jewelry store where the woman makes jewelry that I like and buy a pair of earrings. That is my addiction. It's those stupid earrings, usually silver or platinum. But that's okay. I have to give a shout out to my youngest daughter, who broke that for me, the whole let's do X, Y, Z, by telling me why she felt that was wrong. And we started having themed Christmases at that point. One of the themes that we had one year was Goodwill Christmas. That year, you were only allowed to go to Goodwill or any secondhand store, any thrift shop, and buy the Christmas presents for everybody. And we had a surprisingly good Christmas that year, just using stuff that other people were getting rid of. I've told the story before about getting my cookie jar past TSA. My daughter gave me a cookie jar, a thrifted cookie jar she'd gotten somewhere that was perfect for my kitchen. It was this giant rooster. And so we still do that to a certain extent. One year, as one of my extras, she gave me all the collected Chick tracts she had. Those are the little things that mean so much more to me than anything you can buy at the store. Good morning. I have my voice back, Angel, for at least a little tiny bit of the day, even though I got to admit, the most helpful thing of all times was this over-the-counter expectorant. So I'm still not 100%. But I'm doing a lot better. And I think that will help me at least feel a little bit. But right now, I'm not. I got everything lined up on my counter to make cookies. I'm going to do all my rituals that I always do, the cookies, putting up the tree, all of that. And if I don't feel the joy and wonder of Christmas, that is absolutely okay. So that's what I wanted to tell you today. It's okay to feel your feelings. Your feelings are okay. Nobody could tell you that your feelings are toxic. That's one of the big things that I've learned leaving Fundy Town. I used to be told all the time that my feelings were lying to me. That's a big theme that they push, that your feelings lie to you. Going to work, going on week 4 of being sick, woke up with no voice today. Bliss, that happens. That happens. I woke up 2 days ago with no voice, which is odd for me. I usually have some voice at least for a while. Yes, always grateful. Drop the link, please, because I'd like to see it too. So back to the feelings. You own your own feelings. Feel your own feelings. You work with your own feelings. They may not be the most reliable indicator of what's going on, but they're yours, and you're allowed to have them. Not only are you allowed to have them, you're allowed to stay in them for a while. If it takes you a while of getting over stuff to get to the other side, that's okay too. You don't have to participate in Christmas if you don't want. You don't have to go to any family thing. If you're feeling that unjoy, just do what brings you joy. I know, Marie Kondo of emotions. Do those things that fulfill you. I'm going to paint today. And I was really happy to go through my big steamer trunk that I have all these weird clothes in, because I'd forgotten that when I did this beginning of COVID, that I'd put everything that was too big in there and everything that was too small. Well, I'm wearing one of the two bigs right now, and it fits. I don't foresee that Christmas is going to make me lose any weight. So there is that. To be realistic in what you decide for yourself too, as far as the holidays. One thing I'm going to say that has always helped me feel better, regardless of what the circumstance is volunteering. Always, always, always. When I get stuck in these ruts where it's all negative around me, guess what I do? I volunteer. I go out and do stuff. I always have. Blue is my color. Yeah, blues, yellows, and reds. I don't like wearing yellows. I don't really care for them much. It's tough because my best memories as a kid are with my mom around Xmas time, and I want to make sure. Oh, that's the balance. That is the balance, Bliss. It's hard. Yeah, that's the other thing. How do you make memories with those that are around you, positive memories, while you're grieving a relationship, a parent, even your own memories? How do you do that? That becomes the act of service. That becomes another type of volunteerism where you say, okay, this is how I feel. It's okay to feel that, but I'm going to put that off to the side and do these things so that my children have a good Christmas or whatever. Like I said, I dealt with that a little bit when my father died. It was just so hard. And my kids were littler then. I think my youngest was 8 then, not my oldest. My youngest was 8, and she was more concerned and worried about Y2K than Christmas that year. I found her on New Year's Eve morning crying, losing her mind, because she was convinced by everything that had been said at our old church that when the stroke of midnight came, the whole world was just going to go to bits and pieces. They had her so fear-mongered about that, even though we had talked about it so much. I had to lay in the bed on New Year's Eve morning and with the remote in my hand and show her that it was already New Year's Day in China and all these other places, and the world hadn't ended, that everything was going just fine. So that relates to kind of what we're talking to, because there's going to be some times where you're going to have to stop and do that. You're going to have to say, okay, I'm feeling X, Y, Z, but what is the reality here? Oh, yeah, especially for your kids. They're really what you need to sacrifice for. Your kids should be priority number one. I get mad at parents when I see they're not their first priority. And I can't say that I was always doing it perfectly either. So I'm not throwing shade from that, because one day I'll talk about the couple of years span where I kind of lost my mind and was just done with life. So you're making that sacrifice for those kids, and you are, and you know that your emotions are telling you one thing, you got to do this other thing, and you got to look at it and say, is this valid? Can this pull me out? I've had to do that too. And there's times when I said, yeah, that's my emotion, that's how I'm feeling, but that's not the reality of the situation. Because there are a lot of times where your own emotions will push you to something that's not exactly 100% true. People expecting you to be over grief, especially at Christmas, that triggers family memories. That is, Lisa, that's exactly right. It is so hard when you're being triggered to do those things, triggered by those things because of grief. There is a song that I have been listening on repeat a lot lately, called My Promised Land by Toby Mac. Toby Mac is a Christian artist who I used to think his songs are very simplistic, and I didn't really like him much. One of my kids used to listen to him pretty on nonstop. This song is all about being crushed in the disappointments of life. It really is. It's a song I would listen to on repeat if I were depressed. And I'm not exactly at the uppermost of my emotions because of John. I would have some eggnog too. I would tell you something about Costa Rica. You can buy eggnog here year round in a sealed little box, okay? It's called rompope, and it's full of liquor. I mean, a high percentage. So you can get your eggnog, your eggnog on and your smash on at the same time here. Easy 24/7, 12 months a year. I always laugh at that. Angel, that's why I'm bringing it up. I know it's a tough topic that's therapeutic for many people. This year has been, I'm just going to call it a shit show. Okay. Okay, YouTube, go ahead and spank me for that. It has been. It's been awful. 2021 for me has been worse than 2020. And that's saying something because we had this huge pandemic. And in 2021, I was able to return to start traveling again, at least in a limited way to the States, even though everything is so unavailable there and nothing is normal. I'm just going to come right out and say nothing is normal still to this day. You never have, John? That's the whole reason to drink eggnog is to get a little buzz on. At least that's my Cajun family thinks that. So, I don't like eggnog either, but I'm very much, but I'm going to have some, I think, maybe later today when I'm putting up the tree. Yeah, the drag of the holidays, and it can be. And so for me, 2021 has been horrible. I'm just going to come right out and throw it out there. Why? Because late February, early March, I had a ophthalmic stroke diagnosis because the initial doctor I saw, who I don't much like, who now has been fired from the clinic, misdiagnosed me and told me, oh, the neurologist says to come in 6 months from now. And if you still have the symptoms, it's probably MS. Well, guess what? It wasn't MS. It was a stroke. And because I was put off 6 months, what I have now is what I have. And I don't walk worth a damn. Before I started doing the thing with the cane and with the walker, I would have Ticos that point at me and call me a drunk from the way I was walking because I had no balance. I'm stuck with this shit. I'm just going to throw it out there. So I haven't exactly been my usual perky self since July. I've been mad. I've been grieving. And listening to this silly song, My Promised Land, which just came out a couple of weeks ago, has actually been super therapeutic. I know that sounds silly, but it's like, keep saying, where's my promised land? Where's all the things I was promised in life? And then says, in my grieving, I'm still believing that you're my promised land. And there's a lot of truth to that. I know I rarely talk about faith here, and my faith is definitely way different than most people that identify as Christian. But there it is. I believe in the words of Jesus. I believe in what he did. The other stuff is all nonsense and possibly super edited. So I kind of just say, no, no, no. Oh, I'm glad you're finding it that way, Angel. Lost my mom on Mother's Day. Oh, I was grateful. Sometimes it takes a while for the grief to catch up with us. Going back to my stroke, like I said, and I found out about it in late July, that it was actually a stroke after they did a bunch of, and I found a bunch of other information, like that I had a stroke in utero. It caused a lot of damage. It explains a whole lot about why my entire life I've been clumsy as hell and have no balance. But this thing for me has come for me in waves of grief. And I think that's why I am not feeling Christmas at all this year. I'm away from my family. There's no hope of seeing them. And I'm dealing with this. And I think that another important thing you can do is admit where you are to a close friend. Find a close friend, somebody that knows you, that's not judgmental, that you can tell. that you can talk about your grief, because that's another thing that's very helpful. I'm fortunate. I have some excellent friends, real life friends that I can reach out to using social media and talk to them about this. And God knows I have. My friend Reva, who I've known for, let me think, like 35 years. A friend of mine from high school that I've known over 50 years. Well, now I got to think about that. Not quite 50 years, over 40 years. Another dear sister of mine that is a close friend that I've known about 10 years, I think. Her and I worked together in NLQ, Cindy, and those are the people that I reach out to when this crap goes sideways and I'm feeling like the freak. The American dream is not a promise anymore, especially after these unpredictable days of late. Lisa, exactly. My favorite Christmas song is the 12 Pains of Christmas. Oh, I'm probably going to post a link in the description. There's a Christmas thing you need to see. One of the things that happened to me after I was leaving my old original fundamentalist church and I was leaving Quiverful was that I was still listening to the Christian radio station, and they kept playing this song, and everybody kept requesting it. And people that I knew from my old church, as soon as I heard their voices, their judgmental, crappy voices, saying, "This is what I'm thankful for this Christmas," I was ready to take a crowbar. You see, I'm crying here. I was ready to take a crowbar and beat the hell out of the radio because it was so damn hypocritical. And the American dream has no part in Christmas. I'm just going to throw that out there. The consumerism of that, it really has no part in it. I'm believing that from everything I've observed. So I listened to this, and somebody from my old church called in and wanted them to play this god awful song called "The Christmas Shoes." There's even like a Lifetime movie that's been made about the song. And I wrote into the station and said, if you play that damn song one more time, I'm going to have to take Santa hostage, take away all your presents, leave you switches and coal. And I signed it Barb Humbug. Well, the next day, the DJs got the biggest laugh out of it. They kept ranting on the radio. It's like, call in, Barb. We want to talk to you. And so I actually did call in, and I didn't go on the air. I talked to the station manager for a long time. And this is what I talked about. Sure, go ahead. I talked about how those people and those songs sometimes make us feel. And they changed up the Christmas mix to include some songs that dealt with grief and loss at Christmas. Before my father passed, we watched a TV special on miracles. The lady lost her husband and started finding pennies everywhere. I read that to my dad. Why not nickels and dimes? I said to my dad, why nickels and dimes? I have a feeling I know where this is going. I bet you've been finding nickels and dimes left and right, left and right. I used to find pennies all the time when I lived in Virginia after my father passed. And I've always said that was him reaching out to me. Here in Costa Rica, I don't find nickels and dimes or pennies or anything else. You know what I find? I find 5 and 10 cologne pieces everywhere. I can walk into a store and there will be one at my feet, and I know it's from him. I know it's to say, hey, I'm here, I'm okay. They want us to snap out of grief, and it's not actually possible. That is the problem. A few years later, when he passed, I started finding quarters all over the place. Oh my goodness, on the ground, outside McDonald's, drive-through, quarters to the left of me, quarters in vending machines. That would be so like your dad because of that conversation. Like I said, I found pennies, and now I'm finding those little cologne pieces everywhere that nobody bothers to pick up. I actually have a special jar here now that I put my little 5 and 10 cologne pieces I find on the ground that I always say, or my dad reaching out to me. It is normal to be down during the holidays. It just is. I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to find dollars to buy my grandkids a gift. My mom also died on Christmas Eve several years ago. Emma Maloney, that is actually pretty normal. And that's what I want to say. If you're having grief today or you're having trouble finding that happy place for Christmas, it's perfectly normal. It's perfectly fine. Don't let anybody shame you out of that because it's really needed. I mean, and whatever you need for yourself through self-care is fine. I tell that story to figuratively give each and every one of you in chat or my listener quarter. Okay, Dad, you hear that? I need an American quarter, even though I did find a bunch of dimes recently, and you don't find American money here very, very often. It is an awesome story. We have to tune into those connections. They keep us connected. Exactly. They do keep us connected. Your loved one as well. Yes. So I am running out of air again. I'm still dealing with this stupid asthma, which is why I'm here this morning and not at the church my husband is going to, selling t-shirts, running around like a lunatic. I went last Sunday and it didn't go well because somebody that was, the minister was part of the ministry that he was trying, my husband was trying to raise money with for the so the t-shirt sales, was there, and he was standing back by us. He kept putting his coat by us, and guess what? He's heavily cologned. So my lungs did this number. So I'm not going back until the asthma is 100% gone. 100%. I'm in line at the store. Oh, Sandy. I can't read. Sandy. Why did I say Sandy? I'm sorry. Hi. I'm going to go ahead and go. I hope I brought a little comfort to you guys and maybe thinking about it a different way. Your emotions are yours. Nobody else can tell you what to do with this, or what to feel, what to think. You just do a little self-care in this time, because this is really a hard time for a lot of people. A lot of people pretend it's easy, it's normal, it's all this. It's not any of that. It's hard on everybody. Sorry you're still not feeling great, John. It's just one of those things. John, thank you. They are beautiful, but there's so many weeds right now. I've got to get the gardener here. We were trying to get to the end of rainy season to have the gardener come out and pull weeds. It doesn't make much sense to do it when it's raining. Okay, you guys, have a great Sunday. I'm going to try to go put up the tree now and clean the living room while I still have a little energy. Take care.